All right, y'all. Today's October 1st. We're in a new month, a new set of classes. So, welcome back. Last month in September, we focused on meditation and clearing the mind. We focused on connecting with our higher self and our spirit guides. Okay. We focused on our clairvoyance, and everything that we learned in the month of September will definitely apply in this month of October. Okay. Just remember, everything we go through that we learn over the previous weeks, they all feed into the next classes. So if you're just joining us this month, feel free to go and look at the replays for the month of September and catch up. So that way, for the month of October, especially by next week and the end of the month, you will be fully equipped and ready to participate in those classes, because that's when we're going to really get into doing some healing, like channeling healing, right? So the class that you see for this month of October, starting with grounding, every class again leads to the next. So today is going to be the grounding. Next week, we're going to go into the inner self, which can bring up some emotions, which is why grounding is going to be really important to grasp this week before next week. And then after that, we're going to be going into what we said, grounding, inner self, and then cord cutting, right? So cord cutting, same thing. When we do cord cutting, that also can be a little emotional. So we want to make sure we're grounded before we do that. And then we're going to go into channeling healing light and activating that healing light and demonstrating it. And then going into chakra healing using the healing light that we learned in the previous week. So that's how the month of October is going to go. I want to first thank you all for being here. And I hope that you are getting something out of this and able to take this back into your own practice if you're already practicing, or if you're using this just for your own self healing, that you can use it for that. Or if you're trying to start a healing practice, I pray that you're able to use the information given along with your spirit guides and ancestors to be able to also incorporate it into that if needed. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about grounding. Now, the thing about grounding is that a lot of people talk about it. We talk about, like, you got to make sure you ground yourself, but we don't talk about what that means and then how that's done, right? It's almost kind of like that saying when you hear people say, well, you need to do the work. Well, what is the work? Maybe we want to do the work, but we don't know what the work is to do, right? So even though grounding would sound simple, it would sound like something that everybody just would know. Hey, go ground yourself. Sure, go ground myself. Well, what does that mean to ground myself? What does that feel like to ground myself, right? So grounding in a nutshell is basically being able to ground your spirit to the earth, ground your energy to the earth. Think of it as your energy. Let's say it's all over the place. Let's say your mind is all over the place. Your emotions are all over the place. That means your energy is just scattering. It's just shooting in all different directions, and it's disconnected from the earth, and it's just floating and flying away in a whole bunch of different directions, and you can't sit still. And your physical body has a reaction where your physical body starts to move in all these different directions, and you just can't sit still. So what grounding does, it helps bring you back down to earth. It helps bring you back down to reality, and it helps to remove that stagnant and that unstable energy that you may be feeling or going through at that time. So when I was in high school, I went to a trade school, and my major in high school was electronics. And one of the biggest parts of electronics was you have to make sure your circuit board is grounded, because if that circuit board isn't grounded, it can cause a spark. It can make one of the capacitors or one of the resistors, you know, explode or degrade, burn, right? You have objects in your house that if your TV isn't connected to a grounding plug and then lightning strikes, it can make your TV short out, right? Because that energy isn't grounded. It's loose, so to speak. So our mind and our body works the same way. We have electricity that flows through the body, and we have to make sure our body and our mind is grounded so that the energy in our bodies and our mind can flow freely and smoothly. And when we're not grounded, We can get pressure in the body. We can have bad energy being stuck in the mind, bad energy being stuck in the body. The physical body can have negative reactions when we are not grounded. So the grounding also is part of our protection, okay? Being ungrounded can leave you vulnerable because your energy, again, is kind of just all over the place. It can leave you vulnerable for outside dark energies to come in and attach to it. So grounding is also, again, a big form of protection. Think about it like this. When you're grounded, your mind is clear, your mind is more stable. So you're able to recognize bad energies easier when you're grounded because your energy is stable. When your energy is unstable, it's a little harder to recognize other unstable energies around you because yours isn't really stable either. So it's just kind of matching the energy that you're on. But when you're grounded, you can pick up on unstable energies around you because yours is stable. So then you can see, you can feel, right? So grounding is also a big form of protection. So when we talk about protection, most people think of candle, crystals, God's protection, right? And all kind of things like that. Rarely do you hear people talk about grounding as also a form of protection, but it is. So in your protection work, make sure you also incorporate grounding before you do any spiritual work, before you light those candles, before you light those incense, before you uh, get ready to do that Reiki session, before you do your massage session, ground yourself first, okay? Make it part of your practice. When you get ready to do your readings, ground yourself, okay? So that your energy is stable. Okay, so let's talk about a few different physical grounding techniques, and then we're going to go into some grounding crystals, and then we're going to go into grounding visualization, where we're going to all do it together and demonstrate, right? So again, you can take notes in the beginning of this and then practice this throughout the week, throughout next week and the weekend. Or if you're listening to it and you want to go outside and do them as I talk about them, you can also do that as well if you're in a place where you could do that. So one of the practices I want to talk about in grounding is one of the most simplest, I think, ways to ground, which is walking barefoot on the grass. I think we've all seen posts and TikToks and all kind of stuff of people talking about, grounding yourself, walking barefoot on the grass. So why does that work? Because it's a direct connection to the earth. There's nothing in between the sole of your feet and the grass and the earth. There's nothing there to prevent that connection from happening. Now, even though it is a simple practice, I always say that it's still good to do a multitude of intentions when you do your grounding or other spiritual work, right? So that means if I'm outside in the grass with my feet barefoot, I'm still using my mind to also connect with the earth. And I'm also using my words also to still connect with the earth, right? Now, can I go outside and walk barefoot and not say anything, not think anything, and it works? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm one of the people that like to feel it. I like to feel it. So when I go out there barefoot, I still like to speak and visualize along with it so that it's just more potent. That's just kind of how I like to think, right? So first one is walking barefoot on the grass. Walking barefoot on the grass. That is the simplest way to ground. I won't say it's the most effective, but it's definitely the most simple way to do it. Okay. Another way that you can ground using the grass is lying down on the grass. This is laying your whole body on the grass, right? Especially if you lay on your back. Think of on your backside, right? You got your Kundalini. Talk about the Kundalini being that energy, the essence that starts at the base of the spine and works its way up all the way to the top of the crown. And usually the spine is associated with that. So when you land on the grass on your back, you're literally connecting your entire Kundalini to the earth. And that's a grounding. That's like a really, really strong grounding. I would even say stronger than walking with your bare feet on the ground. It's lying in the grass. Now, that may not be feasible for most because maybe, if you have allergies or if you um, just don't feel comfortable laying on the grass, it's okay. We got some other ways that you can still get the same effect without having to lay down. Okay. Um, Someone asked in the chat, can we lay a blanket down? I would say yes to a blanket. I would say yes, even though um, you may still feel like you have that layer, but usually a blanket is not going to be thick enough to block energy like that, right? So usually, if it's especially a light blanket or something that you can lay down, I don't think the blanket is going to block that connection like that, right? And plus, most of the time you lay on the grass, you're going to have at least a shirt on or something. So you're always going to have some kind of barrier, but it won't be strong enough to block that connection from the spine to the earth. But that's a good question. Thank you for asking that. So yes, you can lay a blanket down and lay on the grass. It'll still work all the same. Thinking how big the earth is, right? It can kind of push right through that blanket energy, right? But good question. Thank you for asking that. So walking barefoot on the grass, lying on the grass, laying down on the grass, especially on your back, are two simple and effective ways to ground. Okay. To ground. Okay. Now, if you do this without the intentions, let's say you just go out there and just lay down on the grass, you'll still ground. It'll just maybe take a little longer, right? But when you add intentions to your grounding, it happens quicker. That's really the difference. So I walk outside and I walk in the grass and I use that visualization and those words, then the grounding happens almost immediately. Like I can feel it almost immediately. So that's the difference. But if you're out there and you're just laying down or just walking in the grass, it's still gonna happen, okay? It just might take a little longer. Okay, the third one I wanna talk about, the next few at least, is gonna deal with trees, right? Grounding with a tree. Grounding with a tree. Now, everyone has heard of tree hugging, right? And you've heard people make fun of them, right? Oh, you must be one of them tree huggers. Or them people out there hugging trees, they crazy. Listen, hugging a tree is one of the best forms of grounding, okay? Because that tree doesn't have anything else to return to you except for love and healing, cleansing, okay? So find you a tree that you love, that you connect with, okay? Because now I might sound like one of these people that they be talking about, but I'm gonna say it anyway. When I look at trees, I can see their personalities. Doesn't sound weird to me, might sound weird to somebody else. When I look at a tree, I can almost see their personality. I can see what type of spirit that it is. I can see um, almost the type of energy it carries, whether it's like masculine or feminine. Sometimes I can see if it's like a childlike spirit or a mother spirit or a grandpa or grandmother spirit. Like I can even see, it's almost like I'm looking at a person when I'm looking at the energy of a tree. And I remember one time I was in Houston and I was doing an Akashic Records reading, and we sat down at the table, and the table had a circle of trees. And when I looked at the trees, it's almost like it was looking at a family. I could see the one that likes to laugh and joke. This one is real serious. That one is the matriarch. That one is, and I was like, whoa, am I tripping? But I don't think I was tripping. I do believe trees hold personalities. Could sound weird, but for me, that's my experience. So when you look at these trees, you find one that you connect with, find one that you resonate with. And it might be multiple trees that you resonate with. And just like you do the exercise with your spirit guides and your higher self talking to you, if this don't sound too weird for you, you can also do that with the trees, and the trees will talk to you. You're not crazy if you go to a tree and you hear its voice. If anybody tell you they're crazy, it's okay. It's not for them. Leave it alone. Don't even try to answer it or make it make sense for them. It's not for them. Okay. But trees carry a lot of healing energy, cleansing energy. They carry a lot of uplifting energy um, in its grounding. And you got to remember, trees are very rooted. Roots go very deep, so they also have a water source that runs in and up and down these trees as well. And we know water is also cleansing, right? So when you are using the trees, or when I say using, I mean like interacting with the trees, those trees, because that water flows up and down those trees, it almost like it carries the energy and it brings it back down to the earth, recycles that energy into good energy, and it just keeps recycling. So that's how that water kind of works inside of that branch, inside of that big part of the tree. Okay, the trunk. Um, so hugging a tree, just giving it a nice big hug is a great way to ground. Now, when you interacting with the tree, hugging it, what I have found was that hugging the tree and doing other things with your feet barefoot also adds another layer of grounding, like a stronger layer of grounding, meaning you're barefoot at the tree roots and you're hugging it, adds a stronger grounding. But if you can't take your shoes off or you don't want to, the hug would suffice. It's the embracing, the touching. Okay, another way to ground with the trees would be laying your back against the tree. So remember, we were talking about how you can lay on the ground. If you don't want to lay on the ground, you got a tree, you can lay your back against the tree to ground. Okay. Again, what I like about it is that because that tree has that water that goes up and down it. Sometimes when you put your back against a tree, if you like quiet your mind and relax, you can actually feel the water going up and down your spine. Like you can feel it, right? And another way that you can really, really feel it is this method I learned very early on in my practice. I had a mentor and I did a healing on a guy without grounding, right? So I learned the importance of grounding on the job. Did a healing on a guy at a meetup and I almost passed out. Like literally almost passed out after I, did the energy exchange, did the healing. And they said, take your shoes off. And they walked me over to the tree. And I took my shoes off, my bare feet in the grass. And she said, put your forehead, put your forehead here and lean it against the tree. And I said, okay. So I did that. And I put my hands and I put my forehead on a tree, right? And when I did that, I could feel the water go all the way down my spine. Like it was almost like the water in the tree was coming up and then it went inside and then it went down my spine and it felt like a waterfall going down my spine. It was one of the best feelings I had ever felt. Just you just feel the water flowing down your spine like a waterfall. So you ever get a chance to do that, do that. Even if you do it one time to see what it feels like. Best feeling to feel that water flowing down your back like that. It was amazing. And it recovered me very fast from that session. So again, barefoot, lean your forehead on the tree, take a few deep breaths and relax, and then just feel it. Just feel it. It's almost like it creates this loop. The water comes in, down your back, down your feet, back into the tree. It created like a loop. That's what it felt like. It felt amazing. So that's another way. Okay. Hope you're taking notes. Give it a try. Now, the other thing with the tree, with grounding, also can be just standing under the tree without touching it. You can also ground that way too. This is also when your visualizations come in as well, right? So you're standing under the tree, but you're not touching it, but you're kind of standing like just under its, leaves, its branches. And then you're just imagining the flow of the energy from the tree coming into the crown, like coming in the top of your head, all the way down through your feet. And then that energy goes back up the tree and then it comes out the leaves and back into your head. This is using your visualization to connect with it so that you can still feel it. So you don't have to be touching the tree to still receive the energy from it. Okay. You just have to allow yourself to connect with the tree's energy and let it flow through you. That is very effective. Okay. This is also a discrete way to ground using a tree. So let's say you're somewhere and you need to ground, you want to ground, and you like, it's a whole bunch of people around, they're gonna look at me crazy if I go and hug this tree. Because we know we still human, we have egos at times, right? So we might not want to do all that in front of everybody. But I can keep my shoes on, I can go stand by a tree, and while I'm kiki and kaka in my mind, I'm bringing that energy in from that tree. in my crown all the way down to my feet, and I'm grounding. And I'm laughing and joking, and I'm grounding. It's a very discreet way to do it. When you need to ground, when you out and about, maybe in public, and maybe you at a party, or maybe you somewhere where you just need to ground because there's a lot going on. So use that technique when you need to ground discreetly. Okay. Uh, and if you think about it, this is why a lot of college students like to study line up against a tree, sitting up against a tree. If you notice that, most movies and TV shows, right, the college students are always sitting around the trees when they're studying and doing homework and stuff like that. Right? They might not know that they're grounding, but their spirit feels safe and grounded when they're there. If you got rambunctious children, for example, that also helps them. Take they behind outside, tell them to go sit up against that tree so that tree can ground them, and it works. Okay. Yeah. Also, light, energy of light also helps children if their behavior is, unsavory. But to say it like that. I don't know who that's for, but I need to say that, whoever that's for. Okay. Now, another way you can ground, okay, and this could be grounding intentionally or unintentionally, can be also grounding that is associated with plants, gardening, yard work, right? So if you're out in the yard, maybe cutting the grass, you are grounding. If you are tending to the garden, you are grounding, right? Even if you're indoors and you're messing with your plants, right? You're interacting with your plants. Believe it or not, that is a form of grounding. So grounding can happen in many different forms, not just walking barefoot on the grass, okay? So going out there, playing in the yard, playing in the dirt. If you think about us as kids, we grounded ourselves a lot unintentionally because we were always outside. We was always outside, playing in the dirt, playing in the grass, running barefoot, playing football, racing, doing backward flips. We used to do all of that and be grounded. And then we became adults. And then we didn't want to get dirty because we became adults. And then we became ungrounded because we stopped interacting with the ground. Now, I was in the military, so I grounded a lot in the military because I spent a lot of times in foxholes and stuff like that. So I played around in the dirt a lot. But then after retirement, I hadn't been out there like that no more. So I have to make sure I tell myself, like, go outside and ground, or I do it the other way that we're going to cover, the visualization way. But I definitely try to consciously go outside and ground, okay? Reconnect with the earth. So gardening, cutting grass, yard work, plants, all of that is also a part of grounding too. So having plants in your vicinity, having plants around you can also help you ground. They can give off the same tree effect. You know that tree effect, like I said, you can stand by the tree and the energy will flow into the crown and down, and they can do it. Maybe not as strong as a tree, of course, but just having plants in your home can also help you ground, okay, in a subconscious way. I guess probably the best way to say it, in a subconscious way, where you can still ground. Okay. But playing with the plants, touching them, watering them, putting your hands in the soil, doing all that also does help with grounding. Okay. Okay. Another technique that helps with grounding that people may not think about is breath work. Breath work, taking breaths, taking deep breaths. Okay. And those deep breaths are like all the way into the gut, like you're breathing all the way down into your abdomen, not just your lungs, right? And you can do it for like a count. For example, as you breathe in, you may count to 4 or 5, and then you hold your breath for 4 or 5 seconds, and then you exhale for 4 or 5 seconds. Now, there's other techniques that have specific numbers, right? Like I've seen one that was like you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 5 seconds, exhale for 7 seconds. Um, I think they all work. Just do whatever one is right for you. Let the number come to your head. Let your higher self say, hey, I want you to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 3 seconds, exhale for 6. Whatever your higher self tell you to do, that's what you do. Okay. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to that. But breath work. Okay, so I do want y'all to demonstrate this with me because I want you to feel the difference, right? When you take a regular breath, it's going to go in usually to the lungs and it expands the lungs and then, right? But I want you to consciously breathe in and I want you to breathe into your abdomen. Like you want to breathe deep all the way down here. Okay, so your stomach expands when you breathe. That's what we talk about, those deep breaths. Okay, so pick a number of how many seconds you want to inhale, pick a number how many seconds you want to hold it, and then pick a number how many seconds you want to exhale. Right now, I've seen mixed things on this. Some say inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. I've seen inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, inhale through the mouth, exhale through the mouth. I think you got to do whichever one that you feel best for you. For me, I've tried them all the different ways, and to me, they all work the same for me. So, whichever way you want to do that, I think it's going to be individual as long as you do it. Okay. So, now that you've chosen that number, again, you're going to inhale, hold it, and then exhale. And you're gonna bring it all the way down here. Okay. Ready? Let's go. So I inhaled, held it, and I exhaled until my stomach was completely deflated. Then I take a few regular breaths, and then again, inhale all the way deep into the stomach. Then take a few regular breaths. Okay. And then one more time again, you're gonna inhale. And then take a few regular breaths. So just in doing those 3 repetitions, you may have already felt yourself start to ground just in doing those. You might have felt your body become more centered. You may have felt your body become more relaxed, some tension got released, right? Now, if you do this longer, you can probably end up getting tired and end up wanting to go to sleep, right? So if you have stuff to do and you just need to kind of ground yourself for a little bit, or you got some anxiety or something going on, you can just take a few deep breaths just to kind of calm that down, ground, and then continue on with your day. If you're trying to go to sleep because you may be having issues with insomnia, then I would recommend that you do more until you just pretty much you end up just falling away to sleep. Okay. Okay. So far, any questions about anything before we keep going? Okay, I'm going to assume the silence means we're good. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so let's get into some grounding crystals and stones. Some grounding crystals and stones. Um, okay, we do got a question. Let me go back. Okay, how can this help with my mind, with a racing mind? Okay, so last month, 'cause I know this is your first time here. So last month we focused a lot on clearing and quieting the mind, which would really, really help you with that. Okay, so clearing and quieting the mind would help definitely with the breath work, right? So when you do the breath work, and I'm glad you asked that question now that I think about it. When you do the breath work, because you're focusing on that count, you're inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it 1, 2, 3, and then exhale. Like because you're focused on that, that actually will also quiet your mind because you're focusing on that count. That means right now nothing else matters, right? So that's how I can see the breathing techniques helping with a racing mind. Okay. Now, when you go back and watch some of the other classes, especially if you literally go back and watch, or at least not literally, but at least go back and watch the very first class, which is meditation, clearing and quieting the mind. If you watch that one, that will really help you with quieting down a racing mind. Okay, because I think most of us gifted folks, we all got that problem, right? Which is probably why that was the first class, because keep your mind from racing so you can focus. Okay, does that help? Okay, good stuff. But I can definitely see the count, the breadth helping with the racing mind too, because you're focused on accounting, and that'll quiet everything else that might be going around. Okay, so going into crystals and stones when it comes to grounding, you know, a lot of times we can't always get outside, right? Just can't. Maybe because of work, maybe because of, whatever you're doing in your life. You're in school, you're in a classroom, whatever it is, you can't get outside. Um, so we have certain crystals and stones that we can wear or carry that can help us stay grounded, right? Now, understanding this about crystals and stones, one, I don't know where this whole worshiping of crystals and stones came from. We don't do that. Okay. Crystals and stones, to me, what I've understood about them is that they work in the subconscious to bring out a part of you that needs to work for you, right? Meaning, if I'm wearing a crystal or a stone that deals with grounding, it taps into my subconscious and say, "Hey, make sure you keep him grounded while he's wearing you," right? Because that's the intentions that I'm wearing them for anyway, right? Same thing for protection. If I wear a crystal stone for protection, it taps into my subconscious and say, "Hey, make sure you protect it in more ways than one, not just protect it, like just calling protection over me, but also being aware is a form of protection. We're gonna do a protection class. We're gonna talk about that, but protection as well. And what you'll notice with crystals and stones that deal with grounding, almost pretty much all of them are also protection stones. So I remember in the very, very beginning of the class, I said it's interesting that when we talk about protection, no one talks about grounding as a form of protection. But when you look at the crystals and stones for grounding, they are also protection crystals and stones. They also share that quality. So grounding goes hand in hand with protection. So let's go over a few different ones, okay? So the first one is going to be black tourmaline. This is one I wear. I wear black tourmaline all the time for protection, but it's also a grounding stone. And to even further talk about how it's a grounding stone, the way that you discharge and cleanse black tourmaline is through grounding, meaning you take it outside, you sit it in the ground, and you let it do its job. You let it do its job. You just you let the ground cleanse the black tourmaline and recharge it, and then it's ready. So you literally cleanse and recharge black tourmaline in the earth, in the dirt. Okay. So black tourmaline, and you'll notice black tourmaline because they usually have slots, like these kind of slits, these ridges in black tourmaline, which is very similar to selenite. Okay, so that's how you can identify black tourmaline. Also, for protection, black tourmaline selenite as a pair works really, really good. Just for anybody who may want to know that. Get you some black tourmaline, and I don't have any small pieces of selenite right here, but okay. So selenite also has those same kind of ridges that the black tourmaline has, right? And if you pair them together, they work really, really well for protection. Okay, so okay, okay. The next and black tourmaline can come tumbled. Just when you look at it, it still should have those ridges, but they're just tumbled. But this is black tourmaline; it's just tumbled, same kind. Okay, so black tourmaline shouldn't be uh, that smooth. You got a little dust on my hands. Oh wow. Okay, that was tacky. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, another crystal that's really good for protection is going to be, or I'm sorry, for grounding and protection, because again, they all share the same. They share the same qualities. Is black obsidian. Okay. Okay. Someone say, if it's real smooth, is it fake? If a black tourmaline is real smooth, it might be. For example, if your black tourmaline is smooth like that, that might not be black tourmaline. It might be something else. Black tourmaline always gonna have a little bit of roughness to it. Gonna have a little bit of roughness to it for the most. I can't see a black tourmaline being tumbled to that kind of smoothness because it's not even made like that, right? You see? So yeah, good question though about that. Yes, you got to make sure your crystals are real. So black obsidian. So this is black obsidian. This is also black obsidian, right? Okay. This is like the interior of what black obsidian looks like, right? So this is black obsidian, but it has like a piece that's broken off. So then see that piece here? So that's kind of what that looks like. That's what that is inside of this black tourmaline. I mean, I'm sorry, black obsidian. Okay, so black obsidian, really good for grounding and also protection. Okay, good for grounding, good for protection. Now, just like black tourmaline, black obsidian also is one that has to be discharged, meaning it can only hold so much energy or it'll crack. So you will find that a lot of grounding and protection stones, if they absorb so much energy, they can break. They can actually crack. I've actually had a smoky quartz crack on me before because I didn't cleanse it. So I usually do mine once a week. Usually once a week, I take my black tourmaline outside, I sit it in the grass, I leave it out there during the day because black stones, especially black obsidian and black tourmaline, you will find that they charge better in the sunlight instead of the moonlight. So if you leave your black tourmaline outside during the day where the sun can hit it, it actually charges it better. Okay, charges it better. Remember, these are masculine stones, right? So because they're masculine stones, the sun is masculine, it charges them better. But then if you have something like rose quartz, for example, that's more of a feminine stone, it would charge probably better in the moonlight. Should all crystals be charged once a week? I wouldn't say that. I would say if it's a grounding or protection stone, I would say at least once a week. Yes, because it's absorbing. So if it's a stone or crystal that absorbs a lot, then yes, I would say at least once a week, go out there and discharge it. Put it in the grass, let it discharge for the day, and then you'll feel the difference when you pick it back up that it feels better, right? But if it's like something else, then no, I wouldn't say you had to. I would say you would cleanse it based on intuition, really, right? But if it's something that absorbs, then you definitely want to make sure you discharge that. And we're gonna get into that a little bit more too, on how to cleanse and discharge them, because there's other ways. All right, another one would be smoky quartz. Okay, smoky quartz. And yes, I see our comments. We're gonna get right back to that subject in a minute. I want to get through the crystals, and then we're gonna get into charging, recharging, and different ways. Okay. Smoky quartz is a good grounding and protection crystal. Smoky quartz. These are just two different kinds. Okay. So I had a smoky quartz that was similar to this. It was a little bit taller, and I didn't discharge it for a long time, and it cracked. It had a crack, like it literally split apart and just did like that because I had went like a month without cleansing it, and I was using it for a crystal grid. So that means it was really putting in some energy, right? And I didn't discharge it in like a month, and it must say, boop, it just popped, just cracked. So that was kind of early on in my practice when I first started kind of doing this. I know better now, but back then I didn't. Okay. So smoke quartz, again, is good for protection and grounding, especially when it comes to the emotions. So with smoky quartz, it can help you protect you emotionally, but just to be aware that working with smoky quartz initially can cause a emotional release. So this would be good to work with the inner self if you're trying to release some inner self emotions that you've been holding on to. Okay. And then another one is shungite. Shungite is really good, of course, for grounding. It's also good for protection against like radiation. And of course, it's good for protection in general. Shungite, you will know shungite because shungite is a little bit more matte. So I don't even know if that's shungite, to be honest. That might not be. But shungite is solid like this, right? But it's it's more matte, like a matte color, not more glossy, more matte. Okay, non-glossy. Okay, so shungite is really good. Also, we got pyrite. Now we know pyrite is fool's gold. People call it the stone of prosperity. You know, but pyrite is also good for grounding. It's also good for protection, and it helps with the lungs. So if you have issues with the lungs, where that does size matter? Let me stop. Yes and no. Okay. For some crystals, I have seen that big size crystals. Damn, get back on track, Terrence. Here we go. Big size crystals work better for some, and then for some things, smaller is okay, right? For example, I have used selenite sticks this small or smaller to be able to pull bad spirits out of people, right? When I do my, you know, deliverances, as you call it, exorcisms. I've used small, even smaller than this, selenite, and it works perfectly, right? Um, but then you also have like moldavite, if you know what moldavite is. Moldavite, all you need is a piece this size. This size of a piece of moldavite, that energy will fill up a room. And it's only this big, right? Strong, strong energy. Um, but then you have other pieces that I feel work better, like black tourmaline, for example. I feel like a bigger size black tourmaline works better. Now, if you're wearing it just for your person, a size like this is okay, but I also got to cleanse it at least once a week. Because I don't want to wear too big of a black tourmaline. But then when I wear my black obsidian, you see how big that is? Sometimes that's too much. I can't wear this all the time because I think it's too big. But, it makes me feel masculine when I wear it, so I like to wear it, but I don't wear it all the time because I think sometimes it's too big, it's too much of an energy. So I don't think, so I think size matters, but I don't think the bigger the better. I don't think that. I think sometimes too big is a problem, right? And I can go in so many ways. Anyway, back on track. Okay, let's go to the next one. We got Tiger's Eye. One of my favorite crystals is Tiger's Eye. Let me tell you something about Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is one of them crystals that I look at it as the divine masculine crystal. Okay? Good night. I look at Tiger's Eye as the divine masculine crystal. Meaning that when I think of men, males, men, especially young men who have trouble with aggression, trouble with just trouble with that, Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye really helps to ground them, helps to keep those emotions in check, keep their divine masculine energy in check. So I always recommend a grounding crystal for men, Tiger's Eye. And I wear it for myself. I've had dreams about it. I made it for other men and young boys and have seen it work wonders for them. So when it comes to grounding for men, when it comes to that, Tiger's Eye. Now, even for a woman, because men and women alike both have divine masculine and feminine energies, right? Meaning we might have a gender, they say, right? A gender, like I'm a man, but it doesn't mean I don't have divine feminine energies, right? We carry both, just maybe more of one than the other. So if you are a woman who operate in her divine masculine and may need to get it under control, I also recommend Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye. So Tiger's Eye will keep you grounded, but what I have found with Tiger's Eye is that it also helps you with creativity. It helps you keep yourself calm, right? Just keeps that divine masculine energy in check. Basically, help it from toxic masculine to divine masculine. And again, that's not a gender thing. Women also carry masculine energies. Okay, so when you go to work as a woman, your masculine energies are being used because you're at work, right? So if you're having trouble at work with your masculine energy, Tiger's Eye will help you calm that down and be more logical at work. because that's what you need to be. Okay. All right. So the next one is also red jasper. Okay, red jasper. So basically, grounding also is associated with the root chakra. So anything associated with the root chakra is going to help you with grounding. So this is again a protection stone, but it's a root chakra stone. And anything with the root chakra is going to help you with grounding. Okay, red jasper. Okay, we got hematite. Hematite. Now with hematite, you got to be careful when you buy it. If your hematite is super magnetic, it might be fake. Hematite has a light magnetism to it, meaning like if I had another hematite, I know it's something on this necklace, but like it should be a light pull, like a light, very light. Now, if your hematite go like this, if you put it to a magnet, if you put your hematite to a magnet and it does this real fast, that might not be a real hematite. Okay. That might be some iron, which it has iron in it, but it might be all iron. It may not be hematite. Okay. So be mindful of that with your hematite. If it's too magnetic, okay, should be lightly magnetic. Also with hematite, hematite inside of it has a brown reddish dust to it, right? Has a dust to it. So if you have, let me see if I have anything with hematite over here. I used to. Okay. So for example, when I made bracelets with hematite, I would notice that where the hematite beads would sit, there would be that would be a reddish dusk on the elastic. Like the color would be red. And that's normal. That means it's real hematite. It has a red dust inside of it. So careful with hematite because it's easy to fake. Because all you gotta do is they gotta make iron and they just mold it into something and you'll think it's real. So keep that in mind with hematite. Okay. Now, I'm sure there's probably some more grounding stones out there. Again, anything dealing with the root chakra for the most part is going to be grounding because the root chakra itself is grounding. So keep that in mind as well. I'm going to answer some questions and then we're going to continue for the last part of class. Okay. Okay. So let me back up. Let me back up. Let me back up. Does it need to be disconnected from the copper? So when you say disconnect from the copper, I think you're talking about if, let's say I have this black tourmaline that's wrapped, right, in copper. Are you saying that does it have to be disconnected from the copper to cleanse it? Is that what you're asking? Okay, and while I wait on that, and while I wait on that answer, um, and I charge it in my plant soil since I live in an apartment? Yes, absolutely. 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 With selenite, would it need to be recharged in the sunlight or moonlight? Selenite, my understanding, works better being charged in the sun. But selenite is also self-charging, so you don't always have to charge it. It's kind of self-cleansing, self-charging. Some crystals are like that, like carnelian. Carnelian can self-charge and charge other crystals around it. Same thing with citrine, same thing with selenite. So selenite is kind of self-charging, which is why it's kind of good to pair it with black tourmaline because the selenite also will kind of keep your charge as well. But yeah, yeah. Okay. Any questions about the crystals and stones before we move on? If we're good to move on, just give me a thumbs up. All right, cool. Okay, so how do you cleanse the rust off copper? Vinegar works really good for copper. Vinegar. Vinegar works really, really good for copper. So when I have my copper rings, I soak them in vinegar. Okay. Let them sit in there for about 5, 10 minutes, and they come right back out shining. Vinegar, white vinegar, cleans copper really, really good. It'll bring that shine and everything back. Okay, so the last part of the class I want to go over, you're welcome, is grounding visualization, using your intentions and your mind to ground. Okay, using your mind and your intentions to ground. Okay. So most of the time when I'm sitting at my desk and I'm getting ready to start a session, I probably haven't walked outside beforehand. Sometimes I have, sometimes I haven't, right? So what I do is I come to my desk, and again, the mind-body connection is very important. And you have to know that sometimes you don't have to be physically connected to something to feel it, right? Like when you do distance healing, for example. When you're doing distance healing, that person is not right in front of you, but you still may be able to feel the energy that's being shared, right? It works the same way with the earth. So I may not be outside, but that doesn't mean I can't connect with the earth from inside. Because using my mind and my body, I can still connect with the earth. So one of the ways in the early on I started doing it was I would visualize. I would see in my mind me with my feet in the dirt, using my mind, right? And you can do this with me, okay? Just a little simple exercise. So in your mind, you want to see your feet in the dirt. You want to see your feet in the ground. And then sometimes I would go as far as imagining roots coming from my legs and then going into the ground, right? So the roots are coming from my legs, they're coming out, the roots, and then I see the roots going down into the ground from my legs. Now, as you do this, as you visualize this, as you think about this, you should actually start to feel energy being pulled kind of downwards, especially in the lower half of your body. You should start to feel energy being pulled down. You should feel your energy starting to clear all the way up. Like you might feel it down low first, and then up higher and higher and higher. You should start to feel the energy being pulled down, right? So what is that doing? Again, grounding, removing the stagnant energy, stabilizing the energy, pulling out any energy that you don't need, okay? You can even add intentions into it, right? So some of the intentions I add, especially when I'm done with the session, is I might tell myself to ground and release the energy of the session to the earth. So then whatever I absorb during that session, I'm releasing it into the earth. I'm telling myself to ground with my mouth. I'm seeing the roots coming out of my legs and my mind into the ground. And then I'm speaking to release any energy, any feelings, any emotions I don't need into the earth. I'm grounding. And I go further in my grounding and say, replace the whatever's being removed, I replace that with light. So the energy that I don't need, don't want, goes into the earth, and then the top of my crown, that energy gets replaced with light. So I let light come in and replace that energy. So I look at grounding this method. I look at that grounding as like a rinse. Like I'm rinsing myself with light. I'm opening up the earth to drain the energy I don't want, don't need. And then I'm being rinsed off with the light coming in, going down, and replacing that energy. I'm rinsing my energy. Okay. So that's a visualization that I do before a session, after a session. I also do this before bed when I rinse off the energy for the day. So I open up the earth, ground, send all the unwanted, unneeded energy, all the energies absorbed during the day to the earth, and fill my body with light, my mind with light. It's like I'm rinsing my energy off. Okay. So that's a technique, again, that you can use that's very discreet. but it works. So you're sitting at your office and you can't go outside and ground, and you got a little bit, maybe you got 5 or 10, maybe 5 minutes before you got to do something else. You know what? I'm going to ground. On the ground. Boom. You do your grounding technique at your desk. Bam, and you're good to go. Get back to work. Right. Let's say you're at your job. You had a bad encounter. Maybe you had a phone call, or you had a customer that came in, or you had to deal with a boss or a supervisor, or maybe you are the supervisor, and but you had to deal with an employee, and you just need to ground yourself real quick because you can feel your emotions and your energy kind of getting, you know, wild. Go ground. Use your visualization, and it should happen just that quickly. It shouldn't, and the more you do it, right, it's like you're retraining yourself. So the more you do it, the faster it works. To where you won't even have to visualize it. You'll simply just say, okay, you know what, Terrence, let's ground. And then it'll happen because you've already built, you've already worked it out in your mind how you want it to happen. So now when you say it, it just happens, right? So when I say fill my mind with light, initially I would visualize a ball of light spreading throughout my entire mind, and I'm feeling it. Now I can just say I command my mind to be filled with light, and it just happens because I've rehearsed it over and over again on what I wanted to do when I say it. With grounding, do the same thing. The more you practice it, the easier it'll be to do it, and you can do it faster and discreetly because you'll be able to be in public or be somewhere and say, you know what, let's ground, and it'll just happen while you're sitting there. And everybody around you would be just, lollygagging, doing what they doing. The whole time you sitting at the company meeting, grounding yourself. So you don't go off on the CEO, something like, I'm just saying. So um, I hope these techniques worked great for you all. I hope you practice them throughout the week again, and be ready for next week so that when we tap into the inner self, you will be ready. Tap into the inner self, you will be ready. Please make sure you use your gifts responsibly as we start to tap into some deeper things this month. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. I appreciate you all being here with me. I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll be ready for next week. Ashe.